Welcome to my Java video series. Today I'm going to talk about this keyword. So this is just like this pointer in C++, but as we do not have pointer in Java, so it is referred by the keyword called this keyword. This keyword refers to the current object. So I can relate with the real world example, like when I'm using here term me or myself, I refer to myself. When I'm using me means I'm talking about myself. When someone else is using me, they are talking about their self. When you are talking about me, you are representing to yourself. So just like when I'm using me, I'm talking about myself. So this is representing to the object itself. So when this is accessed inside the object, it is pointing to itself. So this refers current object. So when I can relate this keyword with the help of myself or me, because a person is representing to itself through the me and myself, and a object is representing to itself through the this keyword. And when a person is called by others, they are using the name, they are calling by the name to a person. This in the same way, an object is accessed through the reference variable. So reference variable is calling the object from outside, and this is accessing the object within the context. And a reference variable is calling the object from the outside context. So I can write here, call a person by name. It is just like accessing the refer object by reference variable. So me is representing the object inside the context, it is representing to the person itself, it is representing to the object itself. And when the same object is accessed from outside, we use reference variable. So it's a reference variable is accessing to the object. But in both the cases, in the case of this or in the case of reference, object is common. So I can quickly draw here a simple diagram. Suppose this is a person. Suppose this is a person, and when this person is accessing to itself, it is using here this. When the person is talking about itself, it is using here this. And when the same person is called by a name, for example, I'm calling here call by name, call by name. Suppose I call this person as hi Vikram. So this is Vikram, and this is Vikram, this is Vikram, and this is called by some different person through the name. So this is another person calling to this person. Suppose, let me use this different person. This is a different person, I call it Raj. So Raj is calling to Vikram like hi Vikram. So this is Raj calling to Vikram by name. So the object, in the same way, object is referred by the outsider references through the reference variable. Suppose this is my object, this is one object, for example I call it employee object. This is employee object. So this is the object, it is located in memory through the accessible through this 111 hash code reference hash code. And when I'm using here this, it is actually holding this 111. And when I'm using this employee object employee e, and this e is also holding the same value. So this e is a reference pointing to the same object, but inside the object we can access this object through this, and from the outside you can access through the reference variable. So the same way, when our object is accessible from outside, you have to use reference. When object is accessible from within scope, I call it the context. Like this is your inner context. This is inner context. When object is accessible inside the object, it is inner context. And this is the outsider context, means accessing the object from outside, outer context. So when object is accessible from outer context, you have to use references, but when object is accessible from inner context, you have to use this. So this and reference variable both are same, and both are holding the both are having the same references, both are having the same hash code. So let me run a small example to demonstrate this. I'm going to use here NetBeans. Just a minute, taking some time. Okay, let me close my all previous projects. Fine, I'm going to create here a project, simple project I'm going to create here, and I'm going to demonstrate here this application. This is very first example to describe this, and I'm using here one work directory. I'm going to create a work directory to keep my programs. So this application, this is my project. I'm going to store this project in D drive work directory. And now let's finish. This is a blank project created here. Now I'm going to create here test this. I'm going to create a main class here. It is good practice to use packages, but I'm not using packages in the current series. So just remove this comment. Okay, fine, it's ready. I'm going to create here a class call let's say employee. This is employee, this is employee, and I'm going to add here a property, integer age property I'm going to add here, and string I'm going to add here employee name. So this is age and name I'm using here, or let me change this to employee ID. This is more good choice. And now I'm going to use here a method, simple method like do task. Employee can do some task, so print employee doing some task. I'm going to print this message here, and I prefer to print the data from this object. This is employee ID and then space name. So these are the values will be printed by this method. And here I'm going to show you one important thing. I'm going to print here this. Let's see what you can see inside this. What will be printed by this line. Let's see. And now I'm going to create here two objects for this class. This is e1 equals to new employee, sorry, this is employee class I'm going to use here. This is employee1, and one more object I'm going to create here. This is employee1 and this is employee2. Now print here e1, print this e1. Let's see what will be done by this statement. And now I'm going to put one separator here and then print this e2. This is e1 and this is e2. Now I have done a simple job here. I created a class along with the two properties and one method, and this is important job I'm doing here. I have printed here this, and here I printed e1 and e2. I created two objects. This is first object, this is second object, and I printed here both objects. Now look at this output. Let's analyze this. Okay, look at the output here. Just a minute, I forget to call this method here. So I printed here e1, and I'm going to call the method also e1 dot. I'm going to call here do task method in first object, and I'm going to call here one more method in second object. So this is e2 dot do task. Let's run this. Okay, now try to observe the whole scenario. The method is called here employee doing some task. We have not initialized here id and name. No problem, keep it like this. And the important part is this, look at this. So what is printed here? Something is printed here from this, which is equivalent to E1. You can see here same thing, 604 604. This is printing the same value. And look at this second case. In the second case you will get the same value. We have not initialized value, so you will get here null and 0. And here you can see here 96c 96c. So this and E2 both are same. So these two are same, these two are same. Actually what is happening in the system, we have got here one object. This is your employee object. So this is your employee object. We have created here employee object. Let's say it is 111, its hash code is 111, and this is pointed referred by E1, and this is the reference and is pointing to the object, just like our old case. We have got here two properties, like this is your employee id we have, and this is name. So we have two properties here. So name, so initial values are 0 because we have not initialized here value. This is 0 and this is null. We have not done any initialization till now. So this is your first object. When you are accessing here this, when you write here this, it is holding 111. So inside the object, this is actually your reference. This is actually the hash code of the current object. In the same case, when you have created second object, this is a different scenario. So we have got here same values because we have not initialized, and here we have this. And suppose this is your second object, again this is your employee object, and let's say its reference is its hash code is 222, and this is referred by E2, and this is 222. So E2 is pointing to the same object, and here we have printed this, and this is holding the same address. So when object is talking about the, when we are talking about the current object, it is represented by this. So when we use this inside the first object, it is pointing to 111. When this is used in different object, it is pointing to the second object. So this always refers to the current object. But look at the same thing. So this is accessing the object inside the scope, inside the object, and reference variable is accessing the same object. So object is common, but the difference is context is different. So this is the outer context. Let me draw this. From outside you can access the object through, this is outer context, and within the context you can access the object. This is inside the object, you call here this. So this is your inner context. Within object we have to use this, from outside context we have to use references. Now the another thing is I can access the member. For example, I'm trying to access the id, so I can use here e1 dot employee id. So this is the way to access the object from outer context. So we can access the employee id from outer context like this, but we can access the same id from inner context. For example, I'm going to use here this dot, I can call this property here, this dot employee id. So this dot employee id is accessing the same property from the outside, sorry, from the inside. So when you write here this dot this, when you are writing here this dot employee id, you are accessing the object from, you are accessing the property from within object, just like this. When I'm accessing here this employee name, so from outside you will call here e2 dot name. So you are accessing to this property from the outside, but you can access the same property from inside scope like this. Just a minute, I can access here this dot name. When you are calling here this dot name, you are representing this property. So data members will be referred by, instance members will be referred by this dot name. This dot name is always pointing to the data members. So this is the way, and the same thing I demonstrated here. Let me try to show you one small change. I can print here hash code of the object this dot hash code, and I can check this, the e1 dot hash code, and again e2 dot hash code, and now try to run this. You will get the values here. This is your inside the first object. You will see here 598, and when you print here e1 hash code from e1, you will see here 598. This is 452 452, because this is representing the object from inner context and this is representing object from outer context. So this is the way to work, right? So I think this is enough for the current discussion. In coming discussion we will talk about the use of this. Here we just discuss about what is this. Now in coming series we will cover up the different usage of this keyword. So thank you very much for now.